This is my 100th episode of Type 1 and Midlife, and you are doing my honor of coming in and asking me some questions about, how I started, why I started, where I'm going with the show. And I'm really excited to share this because we started the journey literally a week apart, nearly 2 years ago, and it's been a fun ride.
Oh, it's been a fun ride. And I'm so honored to be able to interview you today about your podcast and your accomplishments. So, first of all, congratulations. 100 episodes is no joke. It's really
It's no
amazing.
joke.
Yeah. And we're going
Yeah.
to talk about that. We're going to talk about where this has gone. And you have such a passion for this. And I really am excited because I want to start there with your passion. What was the original inspiration and your mission around creating Type 1 in midlife for your podcast?
Yeah, I think the name speaks for it. Hopefully, if you're, it's funny I remember you and I trying to choose our names, and I think we each kind of got there pretty quickly. I don't know that I deferred much, but when I thought of type 1, obviously that's type 1 diabetes, and the joke is if you don't know what type 1 means, then you obviously don't have type 1. It's a description of living with type 1 diabetes. So, there's the type 1, the type 2. So if somebody says, "Hey, I have type 1," then we all get what that means. And midlife kind of speaks for itself as well. So, and I knew this continues to be a segment of our community that is not getting a lot of attention. And that was really my goal. It's my goal with my coaching. It's the goal with all the conversations that I have with women that I'm meeting. And I wanted to bring that on to a forum like this where we can come and listen and learn and continue to grow. Living with a chronic disease is just, unfortunately doesn't have a cure at this point. There's a lot of different things that they're working on as far as, transplants and all these different things that maybe we can go down that road one day. But, it's a very unique disease, and it needs attention put on it, especially as we're aging.
And it's so important. I think it's amazing that you created something for a group of people that really didn't have that attention, where you can bring in experts, but you're also sharing your expertise. And it's really evolved because how you started, and you and I have talked about this a lot, like we keep learning as we go. And with the podcast, I'm sure there's a lot of things that have evolved, and we're going to talk about the other things that you've learned, but I'd like to know how, because we talk about also, changing it up so that it's encompassing the things that we're doing as we move on. And what happened for you is you ended up changing your title a little bit. Type 1 in midlife, we also now see it's and beyond.
And
so maybe you can
beyond.
kind of share, how did that evolution happen with the podcast where you are now as opposed to maybe in your first year?
Yeah, I think it gave me the opportunity, but just adding that little tag on the end of midlife, because midlife, everybody may have a different definition of what midlife is as far as age range. I typically think it's funny. As we're getting older, we think it's, I used to think midlife was maybe 45 to 50. I don't even know. I mean, it's kind of a broad term. But I guess in theory, I was thinking over 40, because when we're kind of in that second stage, we're generally past reproductive stages, or, as women. And I wanted it to not be too siloed where it was just women in that midlife stage, because I was getting feedback, understandably, that, well, that doesn't sound like me. I'm in menopause, or I'm past that. I'm not in that space anymore. So it's probably not a show or topics that would really speak to me. Even though I knew that the shows that I was recording, the guests I was getting on the show, it really pertains to anybody with type 1. But I definitely wanted to open it up to the women really in our age group, Kim. I mean, we're late 50s. and I guess we're still considered midlife, but we're both definitely, we're menopausal. So yeah, I think it just kind of broadened the spectrum of who, seeing the title and knowing, and to better know that this would be a space that they could kind of resonate with as far as what we would bring to the show. Yeah.
I think that was a great
Mm-hmm.
move on your part to start with type 1 in midlife, just to get that age group together and understand that they can get help. But then when you put and beyond on it, it just makes us realize we have so many years of getting great help and improving our health. And with type 1, I think it's really important that everyone feels included. And like you said, you
Yeah.
could include even younger people, but this is a really interesting phase, and you have
Mm-hmm.
included so many amazing episodes that take us through all those phases:
Yeah.
perimenopause, menopause,
Mm-hmm.
postmenopause.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you did a great job picking that name. I've loved it from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And just to add to that too, I think, I love the term beyond, because we are beyond our diagnosis. We are beyond the reproductive stage. Life does not end. Our vitality does not end once we hit 50, or, we all seem to have that idea of when, oh, well, this is it. This is as good as it gets. It's going to be downhill from here. And my guests, and I try to do it myself, I try to bring a lot of hope to the show, and that there is life with diabetes, as we're aging with diabetes and beyond. So it doesn't start here. It can actually get better. How about that? It's not imagine being
Absolutely.
stalled or feeling like it's, we're going to lose. I really think when we get into a community, learn some things, that we can make life with diabetes better as we're getting older. Absolutely.
Love, you've done this from the beginning. You focused on the hope that,
Mm,
women can feel better. And when in our last third to half of our lives, that sounds so doomsday,
yeah.
but it is actually a wonderful progression. It can be going up for us, not down. So thank you I really appreciate that you've
Yeah.
instilled that
Yeah.
in all of us with your podcast. And I'd love to know, a lot happens trying to put together a podcast. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious if there's anything that happened behind the scenes, like what's been challenging, what's been surprising, because we know, even funny, we know that the stats, I don't know what the exact stats are, but we know that there are a lot of people that drop out around the third month of
Mm-hmm.
podcasting.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of people who put a full year into it and then they drop out because there's a lot going on that we don't
Mm-hmm.
expect until we're really into it. And there
Mm-hmm.
are a lot of successful podcasts out there, which is great. This is a wonderful long form medium. But
Mm-hmm.
what have you encountered in your learning process?
Well, I'm going to start at the beginning because, and I'm going to thank you for just the beginning process of when we both decided we were going to do this, to start our own podcast. We had some amazing direction from Omar Cumberbatch, and we'll definitely give him a shout out. Um, so at the very beginning, because we were organized and we had an outline, we had steps to take. That really made the beginning process pretty smooth, I will say. I think I even surprised myself, and it's like, oh, okay, we're really doing this. I mean, this is doable. And I think staying organized and on target with what has to happen, because as you know, this machine runs. It's funny. I talk to people all the time, and they say, "Oh, you have a podcast. So what does that mean? Um, where can I see your show?" And it's like, well, it's out there. Just go on to Apple or Spotify or wherever you listen, and just download the show, and you're in. It's like, oh well, when can I see your shows or episodes? I think there's confusion as to the fact that every single Monday, Kim and I, we drop a new episode. And they're shocked at that. It's like, oh my gosh, every week? Wow, that's a lot of work. I was like, yes. It
Yes.
takes consistency. And, I think our passion for what we're doing, and like you say, we know it's a long form content that something that we have to focus on in this space because, with our coaching and our services, that to get these great interviews and this great information out there for whoever to listen to it at any time, any day of the week, any year, it's pretty powerful. So we're building our library as we go. So I think in general, I think what it was with me is just integrating that with my day to day and just trying to find, managing my time as, recording, processing, doing all the things, sending it off to the editor, to polish it up and to have it ready. I think, that was the one thing that I think kind of came in that I had to add to my schedule and to my routine. Yeah. So, but as far as stuff that's kind of tricked me up, I think the technical side, I'm not considered, I think out of scale 1 to 10, I might be a 7 or 8 because we've had to be, we've had to learn these things. But it's been fun learning and just proving that, there's other things that we can kind of bring in and kind of help to support our business. And that's exactly what we've done. And just seeing evidence of that. And when you've got those pieces in place, it does make the hiccups a little, a little easier. But I think show wise or, recording wise, I think it's the dog barking. And those are things, and I actually love stuff like that. I mean, I don't love it when it happens because it's like, but it's real. It's real life. I've heard many other podcasts because, you and I are both really, we're avid listeners of other shows. I've heard this as well happening with them, different sound things happening in the background. And it's just, to me, it makes it more relatable. And it's really, there's nothing false or pretense about it. It's us doing what we do, and we happen to have a camera and a mic on, and we just do it. We just hit record, and here we are. Yeah.
That is so true. I love how you make it human
Mm-hmm.
because the reality is the listener also has a lot going on while they're listening. And so I think most people can relate.
They can
I
relate.
love when you talk about consistency because you have been so consistent and you've brought really amazing guests and you have done some awesome solo episodes. I love your solos. And it really is just keeping it going. But at the same time, I think the listeners don't understand how much content you really have because this is something you're so passionate about. There's always something to talk about, which is really great. And I want to tell you from the bottom of my heart, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of what you've done with this podcast. And what I'd like to know is for you to focus for a moment on yourself, brag a little bit about yourself. What are your proudest moments in these first 100 episodes?
And this is something I've probably never shared with you, Kim. You and I are very good friends, and we spend a lot of time. Obviously we've recorded quite a few episodes together, which has been just a gift, and time together. It's interesting when I look back at my life and where I was as a young girl, and the ironic part of this, and I think this really kind of taps into the hope aspect of why we're here, and the gifts that can be given to us and things we can overcome. But as a young girl, I stuttered. I stuttered very badly, and I don't know that there's a good type of stuttering. And I didn't get a whole lot of speech therapy help back in those days. This again was late 70s when I was anywhere from, I guess, 6 to maybe 12. And it was debilitating. And I can remember fearing talking on the telephone because it was the worst. For some reason, the phone really tripped me up, and it made me very introverted based on that fear and that embarrassment. And slowly over time, I grew out of it. I managed to just kind of do my own sort of work through it. So I think it's pretty amazing that somebody who feared talking is now leading conversations in a forum like this, and I thank God every day. He obviously stood with me, and there was a purpose in that, and maybe that was humbling. Maybe I don't know, but I think it's important to reflect back to where we were and where we are now, and things we can overcome. Never say never. Never say never. And that ties into so much with our life. That's something that I was experiencing as a child, and but there's a lot of things like that people, women, are experiencing now around different aspects of their health, or they're conscientious of. But to pray through it, to ask for guidance, to seek help. That definitely is what's gotten me to where I'm at.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much for opening up and being really authentic and sharing that story,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes the things that hurt us the most and that we are so feeling shame over when we are
Mm-hmm.
younger turn out to be such a gift when we're older, that we can
Mm-hmm.
overcome and know that we can overcome so many things. And I am, again, very, very proud of you. And I'm proud of you on so many levels, because I do know that as friends, you are sometimes more quiet and reserved. And I've watched you share this passion and help so many people. So thank you. And thank you
Mm-hmm.
again. That story is very, very important for so many people.
Thank you, Kim. Appreciate that.
Well,